tonight. Charges laid in the death of a man at a Regina parking lot. Temperatures soar across southern Saskatchewan. Setting up camp at Country Thunder.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. An investigation into a fatal collision at a Regina parking lot has led to second-degree murder charges for a 36-year-old woman. Jacob Carr has the details.
On Tuesday, this area near the Al Ritchie was the scene of a crime, which has now turned into a homicide investigation. The fatality occurred near the 2200 block of Lindsay Street. The victim, a 38-year-old man. At approximately 1:15 in the afternoon on Tuesday, police were dispatched to the area with reports of an injured male who was involved in a collision with a vehicle. Police and emergency medical services arrived and attempted to revive the victim, but he was declared dead at the scene. After cordoning off the area, officers were assisted by the RPS Major Crimes and Forensic Identification Units and the Saskatchewan Coroner's Service. The victim's name is not being released at this time. As a result of the investigation, 36-year-old Alexandra Crow has been charged with second-degree murder and failing to comply with a probation order. Crow made her first court appearance by phone on Wednesday morning. The case has been adjourned until Monday, July 21st. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Another community in northern Saskatchewan has declared a state of emergency from wildfires. Officials with the community of Patinac are telling residents to evacuate. Now, since the main highway is closed to the community, evacuees will have to be flown to Buffalo Narrows and then bused to Lloydminster. Meanwhile, the province has issued another fire ban for parts of northern Saskatchewan as the fire risk remains extreme. The ban, issued by the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, will be in effect as of tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and spans the area north of the provincial forest boundary up to the Churchill River. It prohibits any open fires, controlled burns, and fireworks. The ban does not include ATV or UTV restrictions. The SPSA is also encouraging local municipalities and RMs to consider fire bans if needed. There are 62 active wildfires burning in the province. 13 are not contained. Let's jump to the weather situation with Sabine in the Weather Center. And yeah, Sabine, extremely warm temperatures across Saskatchewan, especially near the American border.
Yeah, right across the southwest, in particular right along the border, as you've mentioned, Lee. We're not under an extreme heat warning, but that area is certainly seeing it. You can see on the radar satellite areas including Regina. We did see those temperatures get into the mid-30s today, with the humidity index value sitting close to 39 degrees for much of the day today. So very warm temperatures across the board. And of course, with that, we see those severe thunderstorm watches in effect for parts of the province. Now, these extreme heat warnings, we should not see last until we get into tomorrow, We should start to see them briefly lift as we head into tonight. But if you take a look at the temperatures right now, right across the southern, you can see we're still sitting in the low to mid 30s. Weyburn 35 along with Estevan. Coronach was the hot spot for the country today, sitting at about 37 degrees. That's before the humidity index values. So we will start to see relief on the way, and I'll give you more details on that coming up in your full forecast. Lee?
Thank you, Sabine. Yeah, the heat can be a concern, especially if you are homeless. A Regina citizens group is calling on City Hall to change the way in which encampments are handled. As Wayne Mantika tells us, they've compiled a list of policies that they're hoping the city will implement.
This encampment next to Carmichael Outreach was dispersed last month, with residents asked to pack their bags and leave. Now a citizens group is calling for changes in how such situations are handled.
Housing first. Not everybody needs support. Some people would definitely need it, but not everybody. So housing.
The group of volunteers who work with the unhoused is proposing that the city adopt an encampment policy. It would include not dismantling encampments without permanent housing available, providing supports like washrooms and water to encampments, repealing laws criminalizing encampments, and the return of a national affordable housing program.
Last winter, it was February before we had the warming buses. So I think we're urging for the city to allow for an urgent measures to take.
Professionals who work with the unhoused on a daily basis believe supports are important.
And these encampments are moving people around. We know that, like, when it's private property, bylaw gets sent out, stuff like that. We know that. Is bylaw willing to work on and communicate and try and figure out different ways of doing it? Yeah, they are, and we're in those discussions.
The Citizens Group will present its proposals to City Council at the end of July with the hope of affecting change. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Now, there has been a significant decline in a number of unoccupied government housing units. The latest numbers obtained by the NDP through a Freedom of Information request shows that there were 2,150 vacant units at the end of December. That compares to a little more than 3,000 a year earlier. It represents a 12% vacancy rate on more than 17,000 government housing units. Despite that improvement, the NDP says that's not enough considering the amount of people that are living on the streets.
I think number one is get these units repaired. We have in Regina, like we said, about 440 vacant units for whatever reason. Let's get them livable and let's get people in them.
The provincial government will spend $9.2 million this year upgrading 285 Saskatchewan Housing Corporation rental units. It's aimed at carrying out needing repairs to reduce the number of vacancies. Now, Premier Scott Moe and the entire government caucus was in North Battleford today to hear about concerns facing that community. They heard loud and clear about how crime is impacting the area, and they want all levels of government to do something about it. Keenan Sorokon has more.
It's the Criminal Code of Canada. It's not the Criminal Code of Saskatchewan.
As the province continues to get tough on crime, it says it needs some help from the federal government with a letter sent to Federal Justice Minister Sean Fraser asking for changes to the Criminal Code of Canada.
We have a few individuals in this community that are 4 to 5 years over the age of majority who have over 100 charges or entries.
The province is keying in on bail reform, looking to keep violent repeat offenders off the street. The letter sent to Fraser wants Ottawa to also look at considering violent offenses without weapons, impose stricter bail provisions for drug trafficking and organized crime, while strengthening sentences. Premier Scott Moe says plenty has been done on a provincial level, but until more changes are made federally, its reach is limited.
Our intent is to eradicate crystal meth and to eradicate fentanyl from communities in this province, and we're going to do our level best to aspire to that.
A federal Ministry of Justice spokesperson says legislation is being tabled this fall to strengthen many things highlighted in the letter, but it's the provinces that play a critical role in how they are applied. Local leaders are also imploring the province to consider more urgent care and addictions treatment spaces to prevent people from needlessly going to jail.
We're not asking for more people in prison. We're asking for the right people to be in prison.
Part of this bail reform will help us change that image of the Battlefords and hopefully bring more people to our wonderful community.
The RCMP will soon launch its training center, while the Saskatchewan Marshals Service will open its regional headquarters here in the fall as the community looks to shed its stigma as an unsafe community while preventing a small number of people from perpetuating a bad reputation. Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, North Battleford.
A specialized court program that helps people deal with addictions has expanded in Saskatchewan. The first sitting of drug treatment court was held last month at North Battleford Provincial Court. The province says the goal of a drug treatment court is to guide people to recovery rather than incarceration. To participate in the program, people facing drug-related charges must plead guilty to their criminal charges, but instead of serving time in custody, they are required to complete 12 to 18 months of programming with support services that help them with addiction and anger issues. They also receive educational, parenting, and cultural support. Regina and Moose Jaw also have these drug treatment courts. Chaotic scene involving gunshots and a police pursuit of a stolen vehicle happened in Saskatoon this morning. Several police vehicles chased a truck through the city. The officers fired their guns during this incident. It started at about 8 o'clock in the morning when officers received reports of a stolen vehicle. They found the vehicle, but the driver refused to stop. And after several attempts to disable the vehicle, the pursuit came to an end on Circle Drive near Valley Road, where a male suspect was taken into custody. Police say multiple civilian and police vehicles were damaged. The extent of injuries is unknown at this time. Warm and RCMP are looking for an inmate who escaped custody north of Saskatoon. RCMP say 39-year-old Michael Landry, who was serving time at the Saskatoon Provincial Correctional Centre, was with a work crew near Highway 11 yesterday when he escaped. He's accused of stealing a van just before 1:30. He is facing charges related to the escape and vehicle theft. He has a large tattoo on his cheek and numbers tattooed on the back of his neck. He was last seen driving a gray passenger van and has connections to Saskatoon and Regina. Anyone with information knowing where Michael Landry is should contact police. Members of QP 5430 gathered outside of a downtown hotel in Regina to voice their concerns as contract negotiations continued inside. The union says they have gone 3 years without an updated contract and members are getting fed up. QP members are hopeful that a solution could be found soon.
I mean, it's impacting everybody. Low pay leads to a retention crisis, which is what we're in right now in Saskatchewan. And so it works for everybody to get a fair deal at the table, one that respects workers and increases the quality of services for Saskatchewan people.
CTV News did reach out to the Saskatchewan government and are awaiting a reply. Country music fans are taking over the village of Craven for Country Thunder. Performances on the main stage start Friday with the Hunter Brothers performing in the beer gardens tomorrow night. But as Sierra de Souza Butts tells us today, it was all about campers getting their home away from home set up.
Marking his spot for the next 4 days, Brent Britton is getting comfortable at Country Thunder's campground.
Mow the site and then park the motorhome, level it, and we're done for the day, and we'll be back tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon sometime and let the festivities start.
Returning for the 15th year with his family, he says a community of people come out every year to enjoy the entertainment.
It doesn't matter, what side of the aisle you're from or any of that. None of that matters. It's just out here having fun, and friends from 20 years ago, friends from 30 years ago that you meet out here and run into all the time.
Britton is one of thousands of campers preparing for the province's largest country music festival.
The entertainment's really good. Like, you usually have some good closers and stuff. So this year is going to be Def Leppard, so that'll be awesome.
Over 20,000 people are expected to arrive this weekend.
Some of these shows that we do, they are legacy festivals. They're historical festivals, and we have a really strong base, a fan base that has been coming for years and years.
With 7 different festivals now happening across North America, organizers say lots of preparation goes into the events, specifically Saskatchewan's.
We all started here in 2005, and Troy started here in 1983, the first iteration of the Big Valley Jamboree way back. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we've built this brand across North America over the last 20 years, and it all started here in little old Craven in the Cavell Valley.
Close to 20 musicians are lined up this weekend. The event will kick off with local talent from Shaunavon, the Hunter Brothers, who will take the main stage on Thursday night. Sierra de Souza Butts, CTV News, Craven.
Still ahead, is the federal government behind on its $10 a day daycare plans? And U.S. President Donald Trump takes tariff aim at another Canadian medal. While several provinces and territories are meeting the federal government's target to implement $10 a day childcare, a new report suggests that Ottawa will miss its 2026 deadline to implement the policy right across the country. CTV's Rachel Aiello has the details.
Like, what are we going to do?
Patty Dunn is nervous. Getting her daughter Harper into daycare was no small feat.
I put ourselves on the wait list when I was about 10 weeks pregnant.
And now, with a second on the way?
I don't know what this means for us. Like, just because we have a spot already, does that mean that we'll have a higher chance of getting our next baby in?
Compounding this stress, living in Ontario, it still costs $22 for every day Harper is at daycare. And while it's better than what it was, she says getting that cost down to $10?
It would honestly give us, like, that peace of mind.
She's not alone. A new report out today found that while costs are coming down across the country, governments have more work to do to get to $10 a day nationwide by next year. 6 provinces and territories have already met or exceeded the federal target. None of it Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Quebec, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador. But there are still 5 provinces where care costs more: British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia.
Although people think of this as a $10 a day program Canada-wide. That's the aim. How it's implemented is the thing that makes the difference.
It's not just parents feeling the program's growing pains. It's daycare providers too, because while fees are dropping, demand isn't.
Right now I have over 1,200 parents or children waiting on the list with only 500 spaces, and my 500 spaces are full.
Today, a spokesperson for the federal families minister touted the $27 billion investment to support province and territories in delivering more affordable childcare, and said the government continues to work with them to deliver on that promise. While that work continues, moms like Patty just want to see more spaces opening up as soon as possible.
It would help to alleviate the stress.
Experts say in order to create those spaces, all levels of government need to work together to build up the early childhood educator workforce, which will take years. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
A night at the Calgary Stampede turned violent. 3 people were stabbed on the Midway, and police are still looking for their attackers. Police were called to an assault near the Euroslide ride. A short time later, officers responded to 2 additional reports of people in medical distress at different locations. Police say all 3 were victims of the same attack. Investigators are calling this a targeted attack. No arrests have been made. More economic pain could be coming our way if Donald Trump goes through with his threat to ratchet up the trade war with a measure that could hurt Canadians. He's musing about a 50% tariff on imported copper. More than half of our exports go to the States when it comes to copper. Mike Lecouture is more from Ottawa.
U.S. President Donald Trump released another batch of tariff letters to more trading partners. They include Brunei and Libya, and the tariff rate ranges from 20 to 30%. Now, Canada isn't included in this batch, but the government continues to watch after Trump said he'd impose 50% tariffs on copper imports.
When it comes to the latest declaration from the president in the United States, we have not yet seen an executive order. Of course,
Industry Minister Melanie Joly says the government is watching closely to see if Canada is affected by any more trade action from the United States. It is worth noting a 50% tariff on Canadian copper would be significant. Of the $9.3 billion worth of exports in 2023, more than half went to the U.S. The next 2 biggest destinations for Canadian copper were China and Japan. Now, trade experts say instead of forcing countries to make deals, U.S. tariffs are creating new economic alliances that actually exclude the U.S. And that could be bad for the American economy. And Canadian lawmakers say the goal is to get a deal that works for workers in this country.
My job right now is to make sure that in the context of this trade war, I'm supporting the front lines of this trade war, which are the workers and the companies affected by the unjustifiable and unjustified tariffs.
And the clock is ticking. Canada's self-imposed deadline to hammer out an economic and security deal with the U.S. is July 21st. Mike Lecouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
3 people, including 2 children, are dead after devastating flash flooding hit a mountain resort village near New Mexico. So powerful, in fact, that it swept entire houses away.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. It got so wild so quickly. That's when I saw the house coming down the river. And unfortunately, that house is one of my best friend's houses.
The river rose a record-breaking 20 feet in a matter of minutes. A 4-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy, and a man in his 40s were all swept downstream and killed. At least 85 people were rescued from fast-moving waters, while crews searched for those still trapped or missing. The flash flooding was triggered by monsoon rains. The area has been especially vulnerable to flooding since wildfires devastated the village last year. Russia has fired more than 700 drones at Ukraine overnight in what's being described as the largest attack since Russia launched the war more than 3 years ago. Here's a look at the damage in the northwestern city of Lunsk. It was among the hardest hit areas. The Ukrainian Air Force says Russia fired a total of 728 drones and 13 missiles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is now in Rome ahead of a 2-day international aid conference. The latest Russian attack comes just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump gave an unfiltered assessment of his frustration with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Wildfires continue to rage across Spain and France, forcing an international airport to close after a days-long heat wave. Stifling heat last week gripped much of Western Europe, hitting France and Spain the hardest. 5 people and 5 firefighters were injured in southern France as crews battled blazes. The French Weather Agency has warned of a higher risk of forest fires elsewhere in the country thanks to windy conditions. In Spain, residents in nearly a dozen towns were ordered to remain inside. Remarkable video out of Paris where a man is being called a hero after risking his life to save multiple people and 2 babies from a burning apartment. You can see the man standing on a narrow ledge outside a 6th-floor window. As smoke billows out, the man reaches out to grab the babies, then stretches out to hand the infants to safety. The footage continues to show him assisting other trapped family members. The Paris police chief says he will be honored for his courage and dedication. Coming up, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Canadian playing a superhero in a new Superman movie.
Country Thunder is on. In the morning, we sit down with the CEO of the festival to find out what he loves about this year's lineup.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Welcome back. We're going to take a look at your forecast for, well, what's ahead for the weekend and beyond. And it's looking a little better. We're going to be out of these extreme heat temperatures, at least for the next 7 days. It does not look like we're going to see some very strong high temperatures as we did today in the Queen City, currently sitting at 33 degrees. Humidex or humidity index values sitting at 37, so feeling very warm. Warmest it did feel like was 38 degrees late this afternoon. Winds are still picking up. Currently just under 30 kilometers an hour, have been gusting in and around the 45 kilometer an hour mark for most of the day today. And then we have a lot of watches, warnings, and some air quality statements in effect right across the province. But if we're focusing on central southern Saskatchewan, still have those extreme heat warnings right along the southern border, you can see, which again, we should hopefully start to see lift as we head into tonight and into tomorrow. Currently also seeing quite a bit of severe thunderstorm watches in effect for the west. And then, of course, further up north, we have severe thunderstorm watches and some warnings that have just updated. And then, of course, the air quality statement. So a lot going on in the province. But in terms of what we can expect temperature-wise and actual precipitation of what's on the way, well, there is some, and it's on the way starting tonight. If we take a look at what's to come later this evening, actually, around the Saskatoon area, we'll start to see possibly some storm activity coming through just south of the Saskatoon area. But in terms of southern Saskatchewan, again, we'll see scattered showers just south of the Wynyard area earlier in the day tomorrow. But by tomorrow afternoon is when we'll start to see a little bit more of that rain activity coming through in the southwest. Temperatures expecting to cool down quite a bit in the southwest. Swift current seeing low 20s as the expected high tomorrow. And that system will continue making its way through by tomorrow evening. Looks like some serious storm activity could come through the Estevan area. Estevan is expecting to see the most rainfall, and I'll show you that in our rainfall totals in just a second. But again, many parts of southern Saskatchewan, even up further into central Saskatchewan, expecting to see some scattered precipitation, if not a little more than scattered precipitation. You can see overnight Thursday into Friday midnight, Friday early hours of Friday, we'll see more continued rain and storm activity in and around the Saskatoon area, and then more of that rain returning into the parklands. So quite a bit of activity in the form of rain over the next few days, but by Friday, for much of Friday, we'll see conditions start to clear, leaving us with clear conditions until we get into Saturday, where more cloud cover is expected, but more of that rain not expected to return until Sunday night into Monday. Sunday, and you'll see that in your 7-day forecast. But this is the rainfall totals between now into Saturday early morning. Estevan could see up to about 36 millimeters of rain, 2 for Weyburn, 13 for Assiniboia, and then trace amounts for many parts like Regina, Moose Jaw, Swift Current, Maple Creek, and then a little bit heavier rainfall in the Kindersley area, even Saskatoon, anywhere between 5 to 10 millimeters expected in that Saskatoon area. So rain is expected, mostly trace amounts, but there are some pockets and isolated areas that could see heavier rainfall like we saw in that southeast corner there. Temperatures a lot cooler than what we have been seeing. Tomorrow 19 for Lloydminster, cloudy conditions, cloudy for Prince Albert 23, and then down into the Saskatoon area, seeing a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. 22 degrees expected high, 20 for North Battleford, 26 for Yorkton with a mix of sun and cloud. 26, 27 degrees is the average for right now. And then again, seeing that cool down in the southwest with some possible storm activity for Maple Creek. 22 and rain for Swift Current, and mostly cloudy conditions for Moose Jaw tomorrow at 24 degrees. So we're going to start to see a lot more cloud cover rolling in, and of course some precipitation for parts of southern Saskatchewan. You can see Assiniboia, risk of thunderstorm 25, 27 for Weyburn, and still warm in Estevan tomorrow. 29 is the expected high with a mix of sun and cloud. Regina tonight, 17 degrees, 24 for tomorrow. And here's a quick look at your next 7 days. If you're heading out to Craven tomorrow, 24, a mix of sun and cloud. And then, of course, the Riders playing Calgary on Friday. Kickoff at 7, 23, mainly sunny. And then we're going to start to see that gradual cool down. So a warm weekend ahead, a little bit cloudier. But by the time we get into next week, 19 on Tuesday. So much, a lot cooler starting next week compared to what we've been seeing this week, Lee.
Yeah, definitely. And this is your last day in the studio because you're going to be out and about for the next 2 days.
I'm going country, Lee.
Yeah. Going to Country Thunder tomorrow, and then, of course, Rider game Friday.
So I'll be bringing you all the live weather from Craven tomorrow and from Mosaic Stadium on Friday.
Hopefully it doesn't rain on Craven at 6 o'clock. Kind of looked like it was, but...
Yeah.
All right. Bring an umbrella. Thanks, Sabine.
Thanks.
So as Sabine mentioned, yes, in southern Saskatchewan, extreme heat was basically the story today. Temperatures hitting mid-30s. Cornac, by the way, posting the highest temperature in Canada. Damian Smith has more on the heat.
It's another hot summer day in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, well, this is just a hot air mass that we've kind of seen tracking from west to east across the country. So, yesterday, for example, we had some record temperatures set around the Calgary area. And so that same hot air mass has kind of moved east into Saskatchewan today.
In southern areas of the province, Assiniboia and Cornac both spent time as Canada's hotspots on Wednesday. In Assiniboia, the max temperature was 35.4 degrees, while Cornac hit 37.5 in the afternoon. According to Luke, landscape can be a big influence when analyzing how heat can be trapped in the south.
More of like a dirt or rock landscape versus like a grass or forest landscape. Those can get quite a bit hotter. So if you think of a place like the Badlands, say in Grasslands National Park or something like that, for example, like along the Frenchman River Valley, for example, like those are places that we know can get pretty hot.
And during these hot days, the city of Regina has splash pads to cool down local residents, as well as cooling stations scattered around the city. The Saskatchewan Health Authority is also reminding people to keep an eye out for signs of heat stroke and heat exhaustion when temperatures climb high this summer. Environment Canada also has guidance on how to stay safe during extreme heat. Temperatures are expected to lower in the coming days, putting most of the province back in the seasonal range ahead of more sunshine this weekend. But tips for staying cool apply all summer long. Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
There's plenty to do this Friday. The Rider game, as mentioned, Country Thunder, and for movie buffs, opening night of the new Superman movie. As CTV's Andrea Case tells us, a Canadian TV star is stepping into a supporting role as the Green Lantern.
Actor Nathan Fillion is in the biggest film of his 30-plus year career.
So do you know who he is?
Yes, I know this.
So you know he's Clark Kent.
Why does he trust everyone?
He doesn't. Just us, because we are also of the cloth.
Of the cloth?
The Edmonton-born actor co-stars as the Green Lantern in the new DC reboot of Superman and the upcoming TV show Lanterns.
This is crazy. I had a comic book rack in my room when I was a kid. I was steeped in all of this stuff, and here I am. It's my job. I'm living it.
What I think we should do is bleach his sideburns so that he has to walk around in real life with just bleach sideburns.
I can hear you.
His version of the Green Lantern has made waves, partially because of his bowl-cut hairstyle, which director James Gunn had a lot of fun with. This Green Lantern, a.k.a. Guy Gardner, is macho and brash.
As an actor, there's something very freeing about playing that kind of guy, about being a jerk. And I think also far more relatable.
A jerk? No. Relatable? Yes.
He's gloriously Canadian.
Fellow Canadian Melissa O'Neill spoke about her co-star on the TV show The Rookie during the CTV Upfront last month.
He really makes people feel welcome. He takes the time to get to know them. He's an excellent collaborator. And one of the things that I tell him all the time is, like, he's an exceptional leader in that he leads through example. He's very humble, and I love that about him.
That humble quality was on full display as the 54-year-old received an honorary Doctor of Law degree from Concordia University of Edmonton in May.
Now get out there, be lucky. Get out there and be grateful. And get out there and pretend you're ready. I am telling you, that is how the best adventures begin.
Advice given and advice he lives by.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Superman is in theaters on Friday. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Still ahead, Riders defensive lineman Mike Rose is set to face his former team.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
Bad news for the Riders offense. Receivers Samuel Emilus and Sean Bain Jr. are not ready to go. Both have been declared out for Friday's game versus Calgary. Now, defensively, defensive lineman Mike Rose will be facing his former team for the first time since being released in the offseason. Donovan Mace has more.
5 receivers available for Arbuckle on second and long. Pressure on. Down he goes.
Defensive lineman Mike Rose has made quite the early impression, contributing to one of the top pass rushes in the CFL.
I mean, I've never been 4-0 in the CFL, so I enjoyed it.
But the Riders are just happy he's on their side.
Pressure in his face, in trouble, and he'll be taken down.
Rose terrorized the CFL for the past 8 seasons as a member of the Calgary Stampeders, where he earned 3 All-Star selections and won a Grey Cup in 2018.
Taken down by Rose, his 7th sack of the season.
But he was released by the Stamps this past offseason, eventually signing with the Riders. And as Rose sets to face his former club, he says there's no ill will towards them.
No, I'm here to win. I'm here to bring a championship to Regina.
Is there any extra motivation to prove them wrong?
No, I want to prove J.O. and the Rough Riders right.
Another member of that 2018 Grey Cup team, now Rider Micah Johnson, who admits made a push for the Riders to sign Rose when he hit the market.
I hit Mace up, was like, what's up? And everybody got on the same accord real quick. It was like, okay, we're going to make this happen within minutes.
The 2 rushers were teammates for 2 seasons when Johnson had already solidified himself as a CFL regular as Rose was a rookie.
Well, Mike, man, I took him under my wing instant. You know, we used to hang out all the time, off the field, always just giving them back, teaching as much as I can. Even to, 2019 when I came here to SAS, our relationship never slowed down.
Rose says it was easy to learn.
That's a Hall of Famer. It's easy to pick up stuff out of his game and use it in my own game. It translates really well.
Now side by side, disrupting quarterbacks once again. Donovan Mace, CTV News, Regina.
Welcome to another edition of X's and O's with Wes Cates as we get set for the Friday night showdown versus the Calgary Stampeders. Riders 4-0, Stamps 3-1. So this is essentially for first place in the West Division West. And let's talk a little bit about the Riders running game. First off, A.J. Ouellette leading the league in rushing yards right now, and Calgary giving up the third most rushing yards by their defense. I mean, it seems like we talk about it every week, but the rushing game is probably going to be pretty pivotal in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I think A.J. Ouellette's gotten off to a great start, Lee, and then you
talk about the O-line coming out, having some injuries, but that's kind of typical for the Riders at this stage for the last few years. But this O-line's been gelling. They've been coming together. Guys have been stepping in as necessary. I heard there might be a little more shuffling this week, but I think they'll be fine. So stick to what's been working. Obviously, you're going against a shakier run defense, so until the Stamps show they can stop the Riders, which they did a good job against Winnipeg last week, but until the Stamps can show that they can stop the Riders, I think you focus on the run game and play action and pass off of that.
Yeah, they did a good job against Oliveira, but we saw some big runs earlier in the season against Calgary, so we'll see. Passing game, Trevor Harris likely back into the lineup, but he's got to be careful. There are some ball hawks right now in this Stamps defense. A couple of touchdowns from interceptions against Winnipeg last week, one from Moncrief, so they're really stepping up and looking like a good defense after a huge change in their defensive scheme and personnel.
Yeah, Lee, I was really surprised at how the Stamps played against Winnipeg last week. It was kind of like that game, and then also the Hamilton game. It was kind of like it flipped the league on its head. But the Stamps defense looked great last week against a really good Winnipeg offense. So I'm expecting Derek Moncrief. His wife's family is from here, so I think he's going to come ready to play. I'm expecting him to maybe make some plays, but I think that should let the Riders maybe attack him a bit, hit him with some double moves, and maybe try to exploit his aggressiveness and the aggressiveness that Calgary defense is playing with right now, and that confidence. If you hit him with some double moves, maybe you catch a guy jumping something short and get the big play over top. So I am a little interested to see how that chess match as far as the Riders' offense against Calgary's new and improved defense goes.
Calgary's offense led by their running attack. Mills running extremely well for them. And with Vernon Adams Jr., he is a mobile quarterback. That's been a problem for the Riders in the past. They've got to be careful that he doesn't get out of the pocket.
Yeah, VA has done some damage against the Riders over the years, and I think that is something to worry about. And it looks like he's kind of going into one of those VA streaks where he kind of has 4 or 5 games where he plays really well and then maybe slumps off. I've never seen him put a whole season together, but he's a great quarterback, a lot of athletic ability, is a great team leader, and when he's feeling it, that team can really go. So I think, Mills, I'm not as worried about that Calgary running game, but it's definitely something that I think the Riders defense obviously prides themselves on stopping the run. So I think they're going to focus on Mills and hopefully kind of shut him up in that first half and then kind of see how VA and the offense adjust to that.
We'll see how their offense, they've been out. Bagleton was out last couple games now because of a long-term injury, so he won't be in their lineup, their top receiver. So we'll see. Can the Riders remain undefeated? We'll analyze that game and look forward to next week on another edition of X's and O's.
X's and O's, brought to you by Campion College at the University of Regina.
Still to come, a breakthrough in the medical field as a robot performs surgery.
Let's get to your forecast for tomorrow. We're going to see some temperatures much cooler than what we have been seeing today. And again, depending on where you are in the province, there is some rain on the way. We're going to see a little bit more cloud cover as well, especially in parts of central Saskatchewan. You can see a lot more cloud cover there. Hudson Bay, mostly cloudy, 25 degrees. Cooler over in the Kindersley area, 17 and rain tomorrow, 21 in rain for Outlook, 19 for Lloydminster and rain. And then again, we'll see most of the temperatures primarily in the low 20s as we head into tomorrow. And you can see much warmer as we get closer to the southern border. Again, the southeast still seeing warm temperatures, 27 for Carlisle, 28 with a risk of thunderstorm for Coronach. And then over in the southwest, where we have been seeing those heat warnings, we're now going to see a little bit more of a cool down. Leader, rain, and 19 tomorrow. Risk of thunderstorm for Maple Creek, 23 degrees, 22 in East End Cypress with the risk of thunderstorm as well. If we take a closer look at Strasbourg, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel, located about 80 kilometers north of Regina tomorrow. Mostly a mix of sun and clouds. Starting out the day mainly sunny, but then we will start to see rain make its way into the Strasbourg area, mostly in the evening. Looking up to about 5 millimeters of rain for the day.
Care robots and AI, and a warning: the image of this story may be a little hard to watch. Abigail Bimman has more.
We successfully completed all 8 ex vivo studies without any human intervention.
You're watching a robot perform realistic surgery without human help for the very first time.
I lost my mind. I think this was such a crazy accomplishment.
Lead study author Ji Woong Brian Kim couldn't believe it, watching the robot, called SRTH, successfully perform a gallbladder surgery on a dead pig. Built and trained with the same architecture that powers ChatGPT, SRTH watched videos of surgeons at work.
It's a model that's actually learned and actually kind of understands the surgery rather than, being just pre-programmed.
While no human intervention was needed, there is a human who can override the robot if necessary.
Our goal is not to replace surgeons. We want to just make the surgery easier so that surgeons can perform more surgeries, fewer complications.
As long as the robot has the data, researchers say it should be able to perform any kind of surgery. They're already working on next steps to get ready to operate on a live pig. This is a simulation with food coloring to imitate blood.
First thing that strikes me as an ethicist is consent.
Bioethicist Carrie Bowman says we need more data and research as AI in healthcare moves forward.
What's this going to look like for a country like Canada? Is this going to bring down wait times? Is this going to raise efficiency? It may. I'd like to keep an open mind about this.
As for when robots could perform surgeries on humans, researchers say that's still a number of years away. But experts warn AI is moving fast, and we need to be ready by answering all the difficult questions around its use. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Stock markets both up today. The TSX up 68 points, the Dow Jones by 217 points. The Canadian dollar, it went down almost 0.2% to 73.03 cents US. Commodities, gold up $11.74. West Texas Intermediate crude up 3 cents. Western Canadian Select crude up 54 cents. And gas in Regina commonly found right now for $1.31.9 cents per liter.
NVIDIA has become the most valuable company in history. It is the first to be valued at more than $4 trillion, hitting that mark during the course of the trading day. The tech company's stock is up 22% this year. Its chips are vital to the rollout of artificial intelligence. The previous record was held by Apple, which soared to $3.9 billion in market cap in December of 2024. Copper stocks are sinking today after the U.S. president mentioned he wants a 50% tariff on the metal. About 52% of copper exports from Canada go to the U.S. The metal is in demand for electrification. Canadian steel and aluminum exports to the U.S. already face a 50% markup. Purdy's says the Buy Canadian movement has generated exceptional demand for its chocolates. Purdy's has been selling its sweets from its own stores, but because of the spike in demand, it is now selling its chocolates at some grocery stores. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Coming up tonight after the newscast, Master Chef, followed by Gordon Ramsay's Secret Service. Battle of the Generations at 9, Big Bang Theory at 10, and then we've got E-Talk, National News, Local News at 11:30. Mattel is expanding its representation with the launch of a Barbie doll that has type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, the doll's accessories include insulin patches, a glucose monitor, and an insulin pump as a means to increase awareness of the condition and to help young people with diabetes feel more confident. To ensure an accurate representation of the community, Barbie partnered with type 1 diabetes charities to design the medical equipment. I actually kind of like that. It's always nice for young people to be able to see themselves in dolls or whichever characters that they may be interacting.
How come her knees bend and the other one don't? You see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I try. I really do. All right. Novak Djokovic,
yes,
thank you, has his sights set on a record 25th Grand Slam title, while his son, no?
It's going to be tough.
Okay. His son has his sights set on getting everyone's autograph.
Yeah, Djokovic's son, Stefan, has been wearing a hat in the stands, slowly getting signatures from the game's best names, including, except his dad. Doesn't need his dad. Who wants your dad's autograph? No. Djokovic says Stefan has requested nearly all of the autographs himself. Clearly has his dad's drive and confidence. The question is, how far will his dad go in the tournament?
You have so much doubt.
Yeah, he's past his prime. There's a lot of great young players out there right now.
I know nothing about anything. Sport! It's a sport, right?